I get to welcome everybody. Freilich Chanukah, Lichtige Chanukah. So one of the inyanim, one of the themes of Chanukah is Malin B'Kodesh V'Loim Riden. You increase light, to increase, not to be satisfied with what's done and what's been accomplished, but to always increase. So, L'Kavod Chanukah, I'll tell you two stories. That's what I'm going to do. I'll tell you two stories. Malin B'Kodesh. So one Maisa is like this. One of the great Chassidish Rebbes, one of the great Tzadikim, was known as the Abt Rav. Rav Yussie Zakutinsky of Abt. He's a big Tzadik. So the Maisa goes that one of the nights of Chanukah, so he lit the menorah, and it was big avodas, big inyanim, when the Tzadik lights the menorah. And after the Tzadik lit the menorah, he sang songs, he said Tehillim, the usual avodah by Chanukah candles. And then afterwards, he went outside. Now, the Chassidim didn't know why, but he looks outside. He was just like standing, in front of his house, just looking up at the sky, just looking around, just looking. A few minutes. He comes back in, and when the Chassidim noticed that as the Abt Rav is walking back inside from taking his little break out there, he had a very, very heavy look on his face. He looked very sad, sabrachin. Something was definitely bothering him. And he immediately just goes to sit down on a chair, by the table with his head, in his arms, contemplating something, really disturbed by what he saw, even though he just went outside, looked at the sky. So the Chassidim didn't know what to do. So after about 10 minutes or so of him just in deep thought and contemplation, he gets up, he says, he makes a motion like this, and he goes back outside. Also, the same spot, looks at the sky the same way, the same few minutes, and he comes back in, and now he's all smiles. He's all happy, and he continues, and he makes a Chanukah Masib with the Chassidim. They sing songs, Divrei Torah. And the Chassidim didn't know what's going on. First he goes outside and seems to be as if he didn't see what was so happy. And then he goes back again and it's happy. So what was so they asked the Rebbe what was going on. So the Rebbe said, I'll tell you what happened. He said, after Chanukah candles, I decided to go out and to see what's going to be with the town, what's going to be with this city, for the rest of the year. We know that there's such a Kabbalah, there's such a tradition by the Tzadikim that, on Yom Kippur, our Gezerah, our decree is sealed by Ne'ilah, there's a Chasima, and then Haisharon Rabbah, there's such an inyan of the Gemara Chasima, the seal of Yom Kippur is completed on Hoshana Rabbah, the end of Sukkot, but there's a Kabbalah by the Tzadikim that really the Gemara Sheba Gemara, the completion of the completion, is on Chanukah. Okay, so he wanted to go outside and to see how the rest of the year is going to fare for the Yidden. And after Rav said he went out there and he was very disturbed with what he saw. What did he see? He saw that there's no parnasa. There's no parnasa. Everything that was decreed from Rosh Hashanah has already been consumed. And there's mamash no parnasa left for the rest of the year. And he's looking at this, he's like, that's the chasima, that's the Gemara chasima. How could there be such a thing? Mamash, I don't see any parnasa coming, I don't see any hashbois, any good things coming to the Yidden. I was mamash ice mensch. I was beside myself. I couldn't handle it. And I came back in all upset, disturbed by what I saw. And then after about 10 minutes or so, I said, you know what? Let me give it a second look. Sometimes, maybe the first look wasn't so clear. Let me try again. He goes back and he said, when I went back out and I looked what was going on, I saw the same thing, that there's taka no parnasa coming. But then what I also saw is that the same thing happened last year. What I looked and I saw in last year's decree, it was the same thing, that there was everything was consumed, all the parnasa was taken up by Chanukah time, and there was officially nothing left from Chanukah on. And yet, the Rebbeinu Shalom made miracles, and he gave us Parnasa last year. So I figured to myself, no, if this would happen last year, it's not going to happen again. And even though it says officially in the books, there's no Parnasa coming, the Rebbeinu Shalom, that happened last year already, and the Rebbeinu Shalom was able to bring overrode those decrees and gave us Parnasa. The same is going to happen this year too. That's Mamash Chanukah. That's Mamash Chanukah. What looks like it's over, what looks like it's completed, there's not enough oil for more than one night. And that's technically the way it should be. The Rebbe says, you know what? Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. That's what Chanukah is. That Shpois will come. That's Ma'aseh number one. It's Ma'aseh number two. There was a Farbrengen on a Chanukah once by the great Tzaddik, the Rebbe Rashab of Lubavitch, Shalom Dov Ber. And so the Rebbe Rashab was known for his unbelievable mind and the Chassidus that he taught, but very few Moifsim stories from the Rebbe Rashab. So the Chassidim were Farbrengen, and they're having l'chaims, whatever. And one particular Jew gets up and he says to all the Chassidim, and the Rebbe's there, and he says to everyone, he says, we don't have too many stories of Moifsim from our Rebbe. the Rebbe's right there. He says, but I have a Meifus story. So everyone's like quiet. I'll tell you the story. So he says like this. He says that last year I came to the Rebbe, and it wasn't the Hanukkah time. It was like during the summer months, and I came to the Rebbe to get a bracha, whatever. And the Rebbe says to me, he says, "What do you do for a living?" And so I told him that what I do for a living, I'm involved in the lumber business. And so that's my parnasa. So the Rebbe said, is it true that sometimes for the business that you're involved in, you have to spend time like in the forest, like hands-on with your workers, and just to actually be there, present when the lumber is being prepared? He says, yeah, and it happens sometimes that a few times a year I have to actually go out to the forest in those areas that are being harvested for trees for my business, and I have to actually be there, deal with the people. It happens, and sometimes I have to actually rough it and sleep a few nights in the forest with like a sleeping in a tent, whatever it is, because that's what I have to do sometimes. So the Rebbe said, does it ever happen that you have to do that on Hanukkah? And this is during the summer. So the person said, I mean, sometimes it falls out that way. There's no specific set time that I have to spend time, in the forest. It's sort of whenever, business-wise, it's the right timing. But I mean, sometimes it could happen. It could happen. So the Rebbe says, okay, fine. If it ever does happen like that, just make sure to remember to bring Hanukkah candles, and make sure they're very big ones. You should bring wax candles, even though it's interesting. Usually use oil. Make sure you bring wax candles and big ones. Make them big. Okay, it's a funny question, a funny request. The whole thing is funny. Okay, fine. That's what happened. Meanwhile, this Yid says, so months go by. That was during the summer. Months go by. It's now getting close to Hanukkah time. And he's realizing that he has to, it's due time for him to make a trip to the forest area for his business to make sure everything's running smoothly. And he schedules a certain time to go. And he looks at the calendar. Oh, it's Taka Hanukkah. So when he realizes that, he remembers what the Rebbe told him, that if he ever finds himself in the forest on Hanukkah, you should make sure to have big candles with him. Okay, so that's what he does. He's a chassid, fine. So he prepares the candles that he's going to need for that, for those couple nights, and he makes sure there's big candles. Okay. Meanwhile, he goes and he's he travels to the lumber area. Everything's good. He organizes. He talks to the employees. Works out whatever needs to be worked out. Everything's fine. No, comes the nighttime, so now he's in his tent, and it's Hanukkah, so he takes out his big, he's about to get his stuff ready, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he hears tremendous noise and yelling and screaming, what's going on, and he sees out of the bushes come this group of hoodlums, this group of bandits, and they begin to attack him. That's what he's saying to all the Chassidim by this Farbrengable. They're all attacking me, and they're beating me up, stealing my money, taking everything from me, and I'm trying to give them everything I want. I don't want to get killed. After this whole thing is over, this ordeal is over, they take out a gun, and they tell me to kneel on the floor. They're gonna kill me. They're actually gonna kill me. And I start pleading. This is what the chassid. I start pleading with my life that you took everything you want. I'll give you everything you want. Just spare my life. I'm not gonna. And they've said you're gonna go to the cops. We can't leave any witnesses over here. And they're mamish about to kill me. Then a thought pops into my head, he says. The thought is, listen, if this is the last moment of my life, at least let me make a final request. So they say, okay, a final request you can make. He said, listen, I'm a Jew, and tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. And lighting Hanukkah candles is a big deal. So my final request is, the last thing I want to do on this earth, let me at least have the opportunity to light Hanukkah candles. So he said, okay, fine. Why don't you find light Hanukkah candles? So he goes to his bag and he takes out this big wax candle with a big wick on it, and he sets it up by his tent, and this is the last moments of his life. And he, turns on the match, whatever it is, and he, after all the brachas with crying and mamash avodas, mesiras nefesh, he lights the Hanukkah candle. And they say, okay, so you did it. He said, 1 second. There's some songs that you sing after you light the candles, but it's just a few minutes, and this is all I'm asking for. He said, fine. So he's singing this song. So meanwhile, he's singing there, Salalu, Motzei, whatever the Nigun Amar, saying some Telem, and it's taking a few minutes. In the meantime, this is the chassid is saying over, that the candle that was shining, it was such a big, tall candle, and such a thick candle, that candle, even though it was only one candle, it was able to be seen glowing the pitch black forest also. It's noticeable. So in the meantime, while I'm saying Tehillim and I'm being held with a gun to my head, so in the meantime, a number of yards away, there's my mazel, Baruch Hashem, there was a sheriff of the area that happened to be traveling down. He sees a glowing light coming from the forest, doesn't know what's going on, and he comes over and he's able to figure out the situation right away, takes out his gun, shoots all these bandits dead, and they're dead and his life is saved. So the chassid turns to the chassidim, no, is that not a maifis from the Rebbe, that during the summer he tells me that if you end up in the forest on Hanukkah, bring a big candle, Smamish, the Rebbe saved my life. No, such a mice like that. One candle, you don't know what one candle, Dafka candle that's in the middle of the pitch black forest, it could save a person's life. It could save a person's life. No, sometimes a person goes through a dark time. Sometimes a person finds himself in the forest. Sometimes the Jewish people in the world is in a dark place. Hanukkah says, you just light your candle. You light your candle, the Yeshua will come. The Rebbeinu Shalom helps, even when, like by the Apterav, even when it officially says there's no more Shefa, Hanukkah says there's going to be Shefa. Even when the forest says it's dark and there's mamish bandits with guns to your head, Hanukkah says it's going to be okay. The Rebbeinu Shalom performed nisim and miracles for us in ancient times. By Yom Haim is Bisman as well. Should only see good things. This week should be a week of hashpois, taivus, of brachas, mamash ad b'lidai, b'bias kol tzedek, me'ervi meinu amen.